We want to see people experience biblical discipleship. We want Christians to experience the full Christian life that Jesus taught about. We want to see Christians become mature Christians who are actively engaged in discipleship. And the way we do that is through what we call relational mentoring. Now, there's two main types of mentoring that we talk about at Pursue God, relational mentoring and team mentoring. And we have other resources that explain team mentoring, but we're going to focus on relational mentoring. What is relational mentoring? Now, relational mentoring is what you are going to use to help people become truly mature Christians. It's what you're going to use to really help people grow deeply in their relationship with God and other people. You see, in relational mentoring, your goal is to see people really live out the three truths of foundations. We want to see people trust in Jesus for salvation, but in every area, in every moment of their life, through every trial, through every success, through every victory and failure, we want to see Christians truly trusting in Jesus, confident that He will take care of them. We want to see Christians live to honor God, not just with their mouth, but really with their actions and their attitudes and their thoughts, living to honor God through every season of life. And of course, we want to see Christians help other people pursue God through sacrificial giving, through service at church and in the community, and most of all, through helping other people pursue God. And so when you are providing the relational mentoring for somebody, what you are really doing is through all of your many conversations and many studies and videos that you watch and talk about together and maybe even debate together, at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is to see those three truths of foundations that come from the Bible really grow and really develop in someone's life. And in doing this, people will experience biblical discipleship. They'll experience relational mentoring, as we call it. And as we do this, we are fulfilling the Great Commission and we're passing it on to the next generation. Now, how do you do relational mentoring? Well, as we talk about relational mentoring, the way to do it is to build your mentoring around Pursue God conversations and the Flex method. Because Pursue God conversations are designed in such a way to promote, equip, empower, and pass on relational mentoring. And so when you meet with somebody for relational mentoring, either you or they are going to pick the conversation or the series that you're going to cover. You're both going to use the Flex method, which means beforehand, you're going to watch the video or read the article. You're going to look at the discussion questions, look over them. And then when you meet together, you're going to talk about it. You're going to have somebody, probably the person that you're mentoring, you're going to have them summarize what they watched, and together you'll discuss the questions and you'll experience life change. And then as you see them grow as a follower of Jesus, you will help lead them to the point where they can be a mentor for other people, and you'll take them through mentor training. Now, I know there's a lot of questions about how to do relational mentoring, and so let's answer some common questions about relational mentoring. A question that we're all going to ask is, how many people can I mentor this way? Well, the answer, it depends. It depends on where you're at in your life. If you are married and you've got kids in the house, then it might be that you're only going to have time to mentor your kids, if you're a husband, to mentor your wife, and then maybe just one other person outside of your immediate family. But that's great. That's great if you start doing that, mentoring your family, mentoring your wife, and mentoring a friend in church or a friend that you know through work or through the neighborhood. That's great, but I would challenge you to do that, to start mentoring one person outside the home. Now, if you're single, if you have kids, but your kids are grown up, they're out of the house, you might have time to mentor more people, and that's great. Mentor 3 people, maybe even mentor 4 people relationally, but figure out what you can do, and I would even say push yourself a little bit and step out in faith and just see what you can do to help build this mentoring culture at your church. How often do we need to meet for relational mentoring? Well, this answer, again, it's going to depend on you and your schedule and the person you're mentoring, their schedule, but we would recommend that you meet with them regularly, like once a week. If you're really going to get into the details of someone's life and their needs and their frustrations, their failures, their sins, their joys, all of that, you're really going to need to spend some time with them. And so we recommend once a week. Now, you can do this in a variety of ways. One week you can meet in person. Another week you can meet on the phone, or you can meet on FaceTime or Google Hangout, whatever technology you prefer. So there's a lot of ways to do this, but the key is to be having regular, consistent conversations. Can we talk about things that aren't in the Pursue God conversation? Let's say you're meeting with somebody, you're mentoring them, and as you begin the conversation, you realize that they need to talk about something else. Maybe they just had a fight with a friend, or they just got fired from their job. And so this conversation you were going to have about speaking in tongues is just not really relevant to them anymore. Well, of course. Be wise, be emotionally sensitive, be relationally sensitive, address other issues that come up, even if they come from outside the conversation. The conversation is simply intended to focus our times together, to focus our conversation, to engage in biblical truth. But if something important comes up, well, take a time out and address the needs of the person that you're mentoring because you love them, you care about them, and you want to help them. Is relational mentoring impersonal? Now, you might think that to do mentoring using exclusively the Pursue God library and the flex method might make this whole thing seem a little impersonal and not really relational at all. But understand, the Pursue God conversations are meant to drive you to have meaningful conversations. They're meant to make it so that you don't waste a lot of time talking about fantasy football or talking about your garden, things that are interesting, but that's not really discipleship. And really, what these conversations are designed to do is to unlock your conversation to get deeper, to get more meaningful, to get deeper in the Word of God, and to get deeper in your friendships and your relationships with one another. And so if you really do that, if you really grasp that transformative quality that is part of a Pursue God conversation, I don't think you'll find it impersonal at all. And let me say that if you have other questions about relational mentoring that we haven't addressed, go ahead and submit your question in our leader community, and we would love to answer them.